All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. We have to do something a little bit different this time, not what I had originally planned on doing. Um, so, just to kind of give you a bit of a rundown of what has happened since the last time, since I didn't get to do a show last week, um, kind of the joy of living in Belize. So, the power went out, and I wasn't able to do the show because it was raining so hard. And then shortly after, my water pump also went out, so I couldn't even take a shower to get ready to do any more of the shows. And then I also had my car's serpentine belt go out, so I wasn't able to go anywhere and get ready. And then even yesterday, I was getting ready, and there is still right now, I believe, a like heavy thunderstorm, heavy rainstorm, like some kind of a weather alert. So I live over by Guatemala. I live over on the San Ignacio side, not even by the coast, but we certainly Belize is not a very big country, so uh, it's still close enough to affect whenever anything comes in from the Caribbean. So that's basically why I wasn't able to do the show last week, and then I wasn't able to do the show yesterday, and had to keep pushing back. That's also why we have a different setup today, too, because I was originally, of course, going to do the usual, and we were going to sing some songs, but um, the power keeps flickering on and off today. So I guess hopefully it doesn't go out. If it does and the live stream just sort of cuts out, then at least you know what actually happened. So we're going to do something a little bit different today. I'm pretty sure that this microphone is not going to be good enough to be able to pick up anything that I might sing. So probably out of the question, but I did post. If you don't follow me on the social medias, um, I posted a question and asked some people to just give me some things they were curious about, whether it was related to music or related to Belize or, whatever it may be. And we have a couple of those here, and I'm just going to kind of go through them to take a look and see which ones I can even answer. I haven't even looked at these yet, so I just kind of, if you want to submit a question as well, you can always go to kamred.bz, the website, and then there is a button at the top called Secret Show, and you can just click submit a question right there. So I hope you can't hear. There is actually work happening to fix some of the stuff here. So between the neighbors and trying to cool the room down, I hope that you can. It's not too bad, but yeah, can just jump right in. So I'm gonna pull up the list of questions. Let's see. All right, here we go. Well, I took all of these questions from these emails, and then I pretty much just copied and pasted them into an order to be able to kind of figure out, um, make them into a list that I could follow along with. And this is what we've got. So, let's see. It's loading. Next, I will, if we have to do the skin, I'm going to have to make sure that these are loaded in advance. So, okay. I already know who asked this question because if you haven't already played some of my older music from last year, well, older subjective to KamRed, but one of the songs that I worked on, I wrote it a long time ago, and only finally was able to actually release it when right after Ballad of the Robots came out. It was December of 2025, and the song is called Sweetheart for Christmas. I wrote that song probably 10 years ago, and then finally got to record it and release it. And now, oh, you may, all right, the lights just flickered for a second. Okay. So what had happened was I was working on writing a new one. I love Christmas. Um, Even if it's not for the religious reasons, I still just I love that holiday, and so I'm working on another new Christmas song that I want to release in December, around November, December of this year, and I shared the early version with someone, and I know that that's who asked this question. The question is, what's the first Christmas song you remember loving as a kid? And that one is easy. It's Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. I can almost perfectly remember hearing that song as a kid for the first time. And then I can't even remember if that is. Uh, I can't remember if that's the one where that song just like hit number one for the very first time, or if it was because Brenda Lee being the oldest person to hit number one on the Hot 100 or something. But yeah, that was the first one. It's not my favorite Christmas song. My favorite Christmas song is Last Christmas by far. And I particularly like the Cascada version a lot more than the Wham version, which is probably sacrilege to some people, but that's just the one I like the most. That's my personal favorite. Um, and then let's see. And then I don't know if I can. If you want, at any time, if you whatever platform you're watching this on, I do have access to the camera or to the chat room. So, however you choose to chat in, I have I can tell at least some of my friends and family here who sent me a message on one of the live streams and asked if I should. I need to figure out how to make that appear on the screen while doing the show. I got to figure out how to do that. But anyway, asked if I would sing some of that song, and I don't think I can do that one. I've got all the right nasally to be able to do it, but I don't think I can sing quite that high, at least without a lot of practice and standing up. The next question is, what's playing in your car right now that isn't yours? It's presumptuous to assume that I listen to my own music in the car, but I guess, well, maybe not, since one of the most popular videos on the channel is the one where I was driving around San Ignacio singing my music before I had any of this set up to be able to try to do it for real. Um, that's a good question. I'm just going to look at my Spotify really quick because my music that I listen to, I've got like thousands of songs in my like songs on Spotify over whenever Spotify I'm pretty sure my first ever Android phone was the original Droid a long, long, long time ago. And I think that I had Spotify even back then. And so I'm pretty sure that my library, because I don't use playlists on Spotify, my library of liked songs has to be like, yeah, I have 2,410 liked songs over all of the time that I've been listening to music on Spotify. So, yeah, I've been on a. I really like country music, in particular older country, and so that is why I mean, you can really tell the music that I've been listening to, because I don't usually shuffle my whole library. I'll add songs and then listen to the same one over and over again, and it's not unless I'm like having a party or something that I'll actually just shuffle my library and play through a lot of them. So the most recent songs on my Spotify really sum up um, my what I've been listening to lately, and it is Little Miss Twain, Shania Twain's brand new song with Tanya Tucker, great song. And then the one that I've been listening to the most, it's even stuck in my head today, is her very first ever single, which is called "What Made You Say That." And I don't know. I mean, "Whose Bed Have Your Boots Been Under" is probably the first song by Shania that I actually like can remember. Any Man of Mine right after that, but I think "Whose Bed" was probably first for me. And so I didn't really listen to any of her stuff before that album. And when I found a video just was recommended to me on YouTube of her performing that song, the chorus has just been stuck in my head all the time since then. Well, I guess since this is YouTube, I don't think that's against the rules. Okay, I'll try. Uh, all right. I don't know how it's gonna sound through this, and I'm not gonna play the music because I don't have that set up. But the chorus is basically, "What made you say that? Was it the moonlight? Was it the starlight in your eyes? Have you been listening to your heart?" Oh shit. I can't even remember it now. Nope, it's gone. It's totally gone. The rest, I mean, the rest of them is the same thing. This is my current like top 10 of the most recent songs from my liked songs. Is "Little Miss Twain," "What Made You Say That," "It Matters to Me" by Faith Hill, "Take Me as I Am" by Faith Hill, "Baby Love" by the Supremes, "Drinkin' Bone" by Tracy Bird, um, "Drinking Problem" by Midland. If the name of the band might not sound familiar, but it's "People say I got a drinking problem. That ain't no reason to stop." That one. And then we've got "Together Again" by Janet Jackson and "Danceteria" by Madonna from Confessions 2. So that is my top of my current Spotify of what I'm listening to right now. But you don't have to go very far below that to get to like farther or different kinds of music. Um, yeah, I think from the '90s up till now, we got to those of us who lived through it all, we got to experience quite the variety of musical tastes through the bubblegum pop of NSYNC and Britney at the end of the '90s to the peak of '90s country, right through the last vestiges of grunge, which turned into like the Green Day and Nickelback era of soft rock or whatever you want to call it in the early 2000s. We also got to see the peak of R&B as it changed from '90s rap as well as R&B influenced by Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston right up to the early 2000s where we saw the start of Mary J. Blige, Alicia Keys, the miseducation of Lauryn Hill at the end of the '90s, and then that turned into the Black Eyed Peas and Fergie's original album, which everybody in our generation pretty much knows the words to, at least Fergalicious or London Bridge, since Fergie and Gwen Stefani are the two people who taught us how to spell. Yeah, I mean, we got to see, and then that went right into Eurodance, which is what inspired me to make music. Um, my favorite artists of all time come back from the global DJs. No, not very many people probably know who they are by name, but they did "The Sound of San Francisco" and a remix of "Flashdance," the '80s song, as well as a myriad of others. But that type of music is my favorite more than any other. But things like Cascada and Cascada, Bass Hunter, "All I Ever Wanted." That was my, I think I heard that song probably 500 times when I was in school. And then I don't even know what the actual name of the song is. I think it's Romanian. It's Romanian or Moldova. I'm not sure which one, but "Numa Numa Yay," that song. And then yeah, that is very well reflected in my style of music. Is that I grew up, like most of us, I grew up through that, and grew up appreciating all of that. And then going back into the 80s as well, because Kylie Minogue is probably the artist that I know the most songs of. So let's see what the next one was. How do you write a song? Hmm. I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest with you. I don't know if I can share my screen or not. I may have to look at that for next time. Um, so pretty much, the very first song I ever wrote was called "Twisted," and it was back in 2009, and it was absolutely terrible. But the reason I can write music, the reason I write songs, is goes all the way back to when I was a kid, and it's a really weird, really odd, probably story of how to learn to write music, I guess, or at least hone your craft to be able to do it, I suppose. My favorite show when I was a kid was Whose Line Is It Anyway? One of my favorite shows, I will say. I watched that religiously, and I still do. I watch the compilations as background noise all the time, especially the one for narrate. But I'm sure I don't need to explain this for the people who know how Whose Line Is It Anyway works as a show. But there's a lot of musical games in the show, and so what I used to do is I would kind of make all of the kids in the neighborhood, and we would play Whose Line Is It Anyway, and we would do our own like hoedowns and play the background music off of YouTube back in like the early days of YouTube, and just make up songs. And I would practice on my own too. I would watch the videos back in the day, and I would pause it. Like, the audience member or Drew would come up with the topic, and I would pause it, and then I would try to come up with the lyrics of what my verse would be if I was the one doing that part in the hoedown or something, or the Irish drinking song, or song styles, or anything like that. And so I would slowly try to get better and better at it, try to be able to do it faster and faster, to be able to make songs up on the spot. And of course, eventually, when you watch it enough times, you can see that almost everything that they come up with, whether it's fast or slow, whether it's Wayne or Brad or Colin or Ryan, it doesn't matter who it is. They pick the easiest words to rhyme with and then structure the song around that to be able to make it faster. And so once I figured that out, I was able to start to make up, songs pretty much at the drop of a hat, following that same technique. And so from there, when I started to write my own music, I think that this is probably where it came from. I think that the "Whose Line Is It Anyway" part is why I write music the way that I do. But what happened was, uh, right from the very beginning, when I would write music, I never wrote it like line by line. I don't even know how to describe it better, so I'm just gonna tell you like the best way I can think of describing it. So when I write a song, I hear the entire thing in my head, all at once, all done. Like you can even see. I'll show you when I have like, what year is it now? 2026. I have all the way back to that very, very, very first song I ever wrote. Every song I have ever written is stored in the drafts in my Gmail account. Ever since the very first one, I was in high school at the time, and I can remember that I just couldn't get this song stuck out of my head, and um, I was going through some pretty rough shit at the time. And so what ultimately happened when I wrote the song is that I was hearing it play in my head over and over again, and then I just wrote it down. And you can actually see I've shared some of my songwritings with other musicians, and they've mentioned how even the way that I write the lyrics, you can see that what I'm writing is because I'm hearing the melody in my head. I'm not writing like verse, verse, verse. I'm writing this part pause because there's music, this part pause music, and I mean that's literally how every single one of my songs is written. And every song that you hear of mine is a story. I can't even stop myself from doing that because whether it's Secret or Cherry or yeah, Square Rooms isn't because I didn't write that song, but Ballad of the Robots, Last Thing on My Mind, all of those songs have storytelling elements where Secret is probably the most obvious because it takes you through the linear events of a night, a real life night that real life happened. Um, but all of them are like that. And so that's how I actually write a song. I don't do drafts. I don't even change the words later. What I hear goes onto my Google Draft, my Gmail drafts, and then from Gmail everything else happens. I don't do anything else to it. I record the song usually in GarageBand, but it depends. I have a Mac and I also have a Windows computer. On Mac I use GarageBand and then on PC I use Mixcraft. And I don't know if it's just because of the drivers, but I can record the same song one time with the same microphone plugged into two different systems and they don't sound the same. So I just usually do one on one and one on the other, and then whichever one sounds better is the one that I'll keep working on. And most of them do have elements of both, though, too, because I can't get, no matter how many times I try, I cannot replicate the exact same effect between one to the other. I have no idea if I'm just an idiot, but that and echoes, I hate with a burning passion the echo tool in GarageBand so much. So if you've ever noticed in most of my songs, they have the exact same echo effect. Like, that is me being a little bit lazy because I think it sounds good for one, and sounding good is the most important thing. But also because I played with that for so long. And then when I finally got one I like, I just saved it as a preset. And now when I record backing vocals or anything that needs an echo, that's just what I use because I hate it so much. Um, okay, before I go on anymore, oh yeah, this is what's a specific detail in one of your songs that's completely real? All of them, all of it. Every song I've ever written is real. None of every single one of them. The first song I ever wrote was, I mean, I can literally go through the entire list of every song that I ever wrote really quick because I could tell you exactly what every single one of them was about right there on the spot. Oh God, there's so much. This just tells you how long I've been doing this and that I'm still the stuff that's finally happening as KamRed. It definitely was not overnight. And this is also why I mentioned this before in a previous episode, but this is also why when I started to write music and changed it so it was under my name instead of under KamRed instead of under my original name. Um, it was just because I had spent so much time on this all the way back to 2008. The very first song I ever recorded, and I mentioned this before, was a god awful cover of All I See by Kylie Minogue. But yeah, the songs I've written, oh God, some of the names are so terrible. You can definitely tell that what played in my mind has gotten a lot more professional, I guess, over the years. So 2009, the first song I ever wrote was called Twisted. That's the one I mentioned. Ready to Run is actually still a pretty good song. That was, and I did run away. That's what the song was about. Was I was ready to run away and get the hell out of there, and that is exactly what I did. And then I wrote Sunny Day, Library of Love. Terrible, terrible. Uh, God, there's so many horrible ones, so many horrible named songs. But yeah, the last song that I ever, oh my God, you can still find one of them that's still up called "It's 1985 Tonight," and that one is one of the only ones that was actually moderately decent. But yeah, that's embarrassing to even look at. Yeah. Hmm. The last two songs that I released under my own name, one of them was "Do You Want to Dance," which I re-record. That was a hugely popular song, the original one. So when I had to pull that song down, I decided that I was going to just redo it. And so the version that you hear on Aquamarine is that original song, and it's about a real person who I met, and indeed I did meet them at a football game. The first time that I saw you at a football game, I was cheering for my team when someone called out my name. And that's the original version. So um, there's the two versions where the new one is do. Maybe I don't know if I should do the old one or not now that I've pulled it down. I don't own the rights to that music anymore. That's one of the reasons I had to pull the track. So, yeah. Anyway, "Do You Want to Dance?" If you listen to the new version on Aquamarine, that was the first song I ever did. The first song that was ever played on the radio. Was played on the radio up in um, the Pacific Northwest in the United States, and then played a lot of times at the bars and all kinds of stuff like that. It was definitely a good one. And then um, yeah, most of the songs from before are about when I was, living my party life and everything like that. But all of the current ones, "Do You Want to Dance" is about, or sorry, not "Do You Want to Dance," "Ballad of the Robots." So, yeah, "Ballad of the Robots" is, like I mentioned before, when I was going through my treatments. "Abracadabra" is the very first song I released as KamRed, and that song is about a person who came into my life and I really thought they were going to be a part of my life for forever. They made me think that they were going to be special, and I fell for it, and then abracadabra, they disappeared. Abracadabra, alakazam, what a disappearing act, fucking piece of shit. But I'm not bitter anymore, I swear. Um, yeah, I'm not bitter. And then the next song, "Fly," the Belize song, that was about coming here. Like I've said, I had never even been to Belize before I got here. After I finished with treatment, I just decided that in case it was going to come back again, or in case the next time was even worse than the first time, I was just going to sell everything and go to Belize, and that's what that song was about. Um, I was going to fly, like literally get on the airplane and fly because everybody thought that was it was a horrible, terrible idea. Um, Second best was about maybe and "Motherfucker" is actually about the same thing. It's sort of two perspectives of the same thing. "Second Best" and "Motherfucker," the song "Motherfucker" on Aquamarine, are about the same thing, where both of those songs are about how I genuinely thought when I got done with treatment that all of the time that I spent like drinking and partying, that I should stop doing that, try to live healthier, try to have a good time, and that it would make my life better by not engaging in those things. And at least for me, in my experience, that was not the case. Um, so, "Second Best" is about how the substances which I did have a problem with, and I had to deal with it. "Second Best" is that I could push through and be able to enjoy those things, but not let them control me anymore. And the song "Motherfucker" was about how I didn't want to not do it anymore. Like I didn't want to stop drinking, basically, at least cold turkey. So "Second Best" is about how I wasn't gonna let it control me and dictate my life. But "Motherfucker" was that I still want to go out and drink and have a good time. So it's the balance between the two. Like I said, "Ballad of the Robots" is about when I was going through the treatments. And if you haven't seen it, if you watch the episode that's tagged in it, but long story short, um, I had to go through some pretty serious treatments when back in Utah, and when I was going through my treatments, I met a lot of people who were going through the same thing as me, and I realized that um, all of the people who were around us didn't have the emotional capacity to be able to be there for us, to pick us up, to answer the phone, to deal with the constant daily inshitification of your life when you have to go through these treatments that make you feel terrible, and you're sick, you're vomiting, you're dealing with that, but their life is still going on even while you are in the hospital. And so everybody I met in there, for the most part, really just had to put on a brave face and keep calm and carry on is probably the basic way, because you kind of have to be strong enough to hold up yourself, but also not rely on the people whose lives go on outside of the hospital room. And so, that's about the robots is about. As I realized that it seemed like all we ever do is what we're programmed to do, and we pretend we're okay every day and pretend we're all right every night. And so that's what that song is about. The Grown Up Party song, again, if you haven't listened to that song, it's literally what I realized when I went to my first like house party as an adult, and I realized that very quickly it was not like the house parties from when we were young. And so that song is like, it all came to me at that house party. I wrote that in the Gmail draft at the party, that a night on the town these days is going to Walmart. So, and of course, that was before I moved to Belize, since there are no Walmarts here. So, Walmart is, in fact, like a vacation trip if I'm going to drive all the way to Mexico to go visit it. So, last thing on my mind also has to relate to the when was going through the treatments. I spent most of my life thinking I was going to meet somebody, and that I was going to know that I was in love, and that it was going to be special, and that I was going to finally have what I always waited for. And then when my life was almost over and I really didn't think I was going to be able to find that in my life, by the time it was all said and done, my priorities on that shifted. And that's what the song is called. Last thing on my mind is love's the last thing on my mind. I just want to have fun tonight. And so that's what that song is actually about. Um, and then you have all the songs on Aquamarine. Those are just Motherfucker We Covered. Ring Ring is about people. I actually wrote 2 songs about this person. I don't even know her name. But so there's a song called Waiting For that I wrote, and then there's Ring Ring, and both of them are about this person that I used to know who would go to the bar back in the Pacific Northwest, and she would sit there and wait and wait and wait at the bar for her boyfriend or fiance or whatever. I don't even know. I never even found out. But she would sit there and wait for them all the time, and then they never, not one time in the whole time did they ever show up. She would get ready, she would go to the bar, she would wait, she would get all ready, she'd say, this time he's going to be there, this time she's going to, we're going to have a good time, we're going to talk, you're going to get to meet him, and every time he wouldn't show up. So Ring Ring is about how, so the song Waiting For is, the guy you're waiting for is the luckiest guy. I don't know. He left you waiting here on your own. If it were me, I'd never let go. The guy is nowhere to be seen. He left you crying here in your drink. If I could take your pain, I would, but it wouldn't do you no good. Not the best rendition, but I'll do that song for real at some point when I'm not using this $10 Walmart mic. But anyway, so that's kind of give you a sense of what it was like when I would be watching her at the bar, sitting and talking to her. And then Ring Ring was the inevitable thing that would always happen, where he doesn't show up, he calls her on the phone, doesn't matter how much fun she's having, she could be the center of attention, the belle of the ball. He calls and she leaves every single time. Always leaves, disappointed, doesn't want to go back. That was, I saw that so many times that it inspired me to write not 1 but 2 songs about this woman. And so Ring Ring is, her phone going off, and that's what it means is ring ring. It doesn't have to be a big thing. And so that song is about the same person. Do You Want to Dance and Grown Up Party song we went over. Keep Keeping On. I wrote that about a person that I knew back in the Pacific Northwest who was a trans woman. And this was like Oh God, I think I wrote that song probably almost 15 years ago. Um, yeah, probably about 2011. Yeah, and I wrote that song about. I'm not obviously a trans person, but it was the same idea of how I was always going to parties and I was always going to parties and having to portray a role to be able to, and I even talk about this in Ballad of the Robots. You can't let the cracks appear in your in your emotional state, or else your social life will die. And so that's what that saw. I was realizing that even back then, and so I wouldn't talk to people about things that I was interested in. I wouldn't talk to people about shows that I watch. I wouldn't talk to people about like the video games that I play. That wasn't what people were interested in me for. So all I ever talked about was, everybody wanted me to come hang out because I was the party person. I was the one you wanted to drink with and have fun with. But I was not the person you wanted to watch movies with. They didn't give a shit what I liked or anything about me. So um, keeping on was the beginning of the sort of seeing people who were true to who they thought they really were, even at the expense of the people around them. And so that was what that song was about: was got to be faithful to who I am. I got to hold fast because the road will be long. I got to be true to what I'm doing, and I got to stay strong, and I got to keep keeping on. So that's what that song is about. Aquamarine, very straightforward song. Just saw somebody who had eyes like Meg something or other, the woman who plays the bad guy in that movie where people don't have normal faces. I can't remember. Um, Meg Foster. I knew it was Meg something. Okay, yeah. So he had eyes that looked exactly like hers. I mean, if you haven't seen her, if you Google her and you look at her eyes, they're unbelievable. And his eyes were very similar to hers. And yeah, we met each other at a bar in Utah, and then wound up being friends for a while. But as is the nature for so many people in Utah, where it's a big city with a very small town vibe, and they weren't over their person that they had gotten out of a relationship with, and they weren't ready to move on, and I wasn't ready to slow down and wait, so we parted ways. Um, Die Alone is one of my favorite songs I've ever written. The version on Aquamarine isn't the original one, but I couldn't get the rights to the music that I had written the song to. I used to write music where I would write everything all at once, but then I would have to go looking through, and you can see it on my other YouTube channel, hundreds, actually at this point probably thousands of instrumental tracks from YouTube. Like I was going anything I could find because I would have to try to match what I was hearing in my head and the lyrics I had written to the instrumental tracks. I don't listen. I can't do that. I don't have. I mean, if I spent enough time to write one, or I did like the shortened version, like I mentioned for the "Whose Line Is It Anyway" technique, I probably could write a song by listening to the instrumental first and then writing the song after. But that's not how I usually do it. I hear the entire song in my head, write it in Gmail, and then I go and I have to find an instrumental on YouTube or BeatStars to fit with the song that I'm hearing in my head. And so, yeah, the original version of Die Alone, that I couldn't get the rights to that song. I didn't want to do just leasing the instrumental. All of my music, all of the music that I buy exclusively, so that and I do split. I split royalties with the people I work with. So that's not the problem. It's just that I don't want to ever risk the chance that my exclusive rights over back piece of backing track um, can be lost to me. So yeah, it's more expensive, but that's what I do every time. Um, Die Alone is one of my favorite songs, though. I wrote that song about what it was like at those parties that I mentioned. Everywhere I would go, and all these parties that I would find myself at, I was always the center of attention. like I said, that's what people wanted to hang out with me for. I was the person you wanted to drink with. But I always knew that when the morning came, they would all be gone. It didn't matter. I mean, I would have people, we would be playing King's Cup or, beer pong or something, and I would have people like fawning over me, telling me that they were in love with me. And I always knew that it was just for one night, like Cinderella, but over and over and over again, and with a lot more vomit involved. Not mine, though. I was too good for that, or too bad, depending on your perspective. But that's what that song is about. Is when those nights were there, they were. I mean, I joke about it, but that was the closest thing to feeling special and feeling wanted that I had during a lot of that time in my life was, and that's why I kept doing it was because I felt really special when I was the center of attention and all of those people who would be around me, and I knew that it would be over in the morning. So that's what that song is about. I hold on tight and pray for one more song because I know in the morning you will be gone. My biggest fear, and now you know, I want to be yours tonight. I don't want to die alone. That's what that song is. I Will Find You, just as a song about my best friend. No matter what happens in this life or the next, I'll find them again. Just like I'm sure that from our past life to this one, that's why we found each other. Throughout all of the good and the many, many, many bad, we are still we're still together. And then Million Dollar Face. We were standing in the Goodwill in the Pacific Northwest one time, looking at clothes, and I had my face all done up, but I was wearing like I am right now. I mean, I'm wearing my Neebs gaming shirt, and when we were standing in there, I was just wearing some old clothes and wearing my outfit, and we were talking. And my best friend, the one that I just mentioned, said that I had $1 million face but a $20 outfit, and boom, that was all it took. That was all it took for me to hear that entire song writing into my head. And I wrote it in Gmail, I think, in the car right after we left Goodwill. That's how fast that shit happens when it comes to like when I hear a song. It'll happen at 3 o'clock in the morning. It'll happen at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll happen totally at random. And like I said, when I hear it, I hear the entire song all at once. And that pretty much goes right up to Ashtray. I used to have another song called that same song. I had released that one before and lost the rights to that backing music as well. Um, I had a contract with them, but these some of the people, their like entire media presence just disappears, and I'd rather err on the side of caution. That so that is why I turned it down. So the song used to be called "Burn Down," and then I redid it as "Ashtray" with a whole new backing track, and that song is also about my best friend, about how we went through some shit. I thought we had burned down our bridge, but then we were back together again, and everything was exactly the same. Um, and then all the other ones, I think you can probably guess at. Secret, The Mask, Cherry, they're all relatively consistent with the storytelling arc being very clear. Excuse me. Um, in the song itself, but yeah. Um, Oh, and I totally forgot to mention, like, this is the whole thing that this was about. So, last thing on my mind has been nominated for one of the Intercontinental Music Awards. So, next week, on August 22nd, Saturday, here in Belize, I'm excited to be attending a private party for Belize Pride, as well as to celebrate being nominated for the award. And then the following day, Sunday, 12 o'clock noon Pacific time, 1 p.m. here in Belize. That is when the award ceremony will actually be happening. And I mean, it's already great to have been nominated to be named as a finalist. I don't think I'm going to win, and I'm not just being humble about that. I don't think I'm going to win because when I look at the people that I'm up against, some of them have like albums that have actually charted. Like one of them is an Argentine DJ, and he has records that have charted in Europe. and things like that, and another person who has a PhD and a best-selling author and some incredible music. And it's not that I don't think my music is good. It's just that I don't think I'm going to win against them, basically. So, but I am very, very excited. I'm excited to attend. I'm excited to show up. I can't wait to watch the ceremony. Yeah, we'll probably be doing a live stream during the. Yeah, because next week I won't be able to do the secret show because I'll actually be at the party already. So on Sunday of next week, I might just do a live stream watching the award ceremony, watching it happen, so that we can find out um, who won the award together, whether it was me or whether it was more than likely not me. So, but if it is me, you're gonna see me go absolutely apeshit because I will have been astounded to have won the award. So, God, we've already done 45, almost 45 minutes of this show, and this was supposed to be a short show. I can't believe that the power hasn't gone out, and it is raining. I don't know if you'll be able to pick up the sound of the rain through the mic. Um, the metal roofs in Belize don't have insulation. Our walls don't have insulation. So if it really starts raining, it's loud as a motherfucker. So that is part of why I didn't want to do a performance tonight. For one, because I didn't want to risk damaging that equipment. I spent a lot of money to buy that equipment to start doing these shows together. And then for two, because I didn't want to have my be performing and have my music be the song compete with the sound of extremely loud rain on the metal roof. So there's a shitload more questions. I was not expecting to get quite so many. Uh, yeah. So I guess the last thing, two things that might be interesting for everybody to know. The first thing, just before we wrap up, so the first one is both ways. That song comes out in 11 days on August 27th. I really hope that you're excited to hear that song. I'm releasing it in two things. One, it's coming out because it's a song about bisexuality, and it's also kind of aligned with Belize Pride and that event that I'll be going to next week. Um, and then for two, it's just a really, really good song, and I think you'll like it. And then the second one is this is depending on where most of you might be watching from. I am starting to do a little bit of an investigation into potentially coming in person to Germany to perform. I have 9,000 or so monthly listeners on Spotify right now, and the overwhelming majority of my listeners are in Germany. The majority of my active listeners, streams, saves, playlist ads, everything is Germany. At my top 10 songs, I shared a screenshot of this on Facebook because it was literally, I was going to read you to the list because it's so funny. It's just so consistent. And it's not intentional either. It's kind of just one of those things in life. So I'm going to share you the top 10 cities for this song. Okay, you ready? For me as an artist. Top 10. Here we go. I can even go longer. Top 10. Berlin, Munich, Dortmund, Stuttgart, Hamburg, Frankfurt, Dusseldorf, Leipzig, Cologne, Ruhin, Hanover, Nuremberg. Then we have our first one that's not in Germany. It's in Spain, and it's Torrellano. Hamm, Ulm, Augsburg. Then we have Cali in Colombia, Ludenstedt in Germany. And then this is the first one, Ludwigshafen am Rhein, Santiago in Chile, Bochum in Germany. I mean, the overwhelming majority of the people who listen to my music, I mean, that's the top 20, and you can see how many of the locations of my listeners are German. Yeah. And despite my last name is Rosencrantz, and I've been trying to get used to saying it the right way. I've been meeting a lot of people through there's two different types of spellings for that name. There's the Scandinavian, Danish, the ones from Schleswig-Holstein, the ones from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. That is different. That's the Danish one. And then there is the German one, which is my family, which is Kranz, not with TZ, just Z. And so that's my family. I've been able to track most of my family lineage back through the Rosencrantz name to Austria. And so I got some really cool records from the embassy in Austria when I did some records requests, and then later from some records buildings in Austria for family members that on my real father's side who are that's where they're from. The rest of my family is all as English as it gets. Their last names are Lancaster and Bailey, so there's no denying that that is the islands of Great Britain to the core. So, yeah, probably it's either going to be Germany itself or landing in Vienna and then working it out from there. The Berlin is the number one city right now, but it's usually Munich. So I've been going back and forth on Berlin or Munich, basically, because if it's Munich, it's an easier access trip to be able to get to the Orient Express and being able to take some time to go through Vienna, which Hofburg is like one of the places I want to see more than anything else in the entire world. I love the history of the Austrian Empire and Austria-Hungary, the story of Maria Theresa and things like that. I love it. So really, really, really want to go there. And then, of course, through all the way to Romania, which I'll be keeping you posted. I've been considering and looking more and more intently at potentially relocating once again from Belize to there, but we'll have to see what unfolds in Eastern Europe on the international stage before I make that kind of a decision. So, I think that pretty much wraps us up for this evening. I'll be keeping you posted about things as they happen and whatever else comes along. Next week we'll plan on doing the live stream on Sunday. So while if you want to actually watch the event, you have to purchase a ticket, but I can at least I'll live stream so that we can sort of watch it together especially when it gets to my award or my category, I should say. So this is an hour-long video. This is out longer than I had planned on today. There's still more questions. I didn't mean to spend so much time talking about the questions and not getting through the list. But, excuse me. That's not me being rude. That's just a residual effect of my problems that I had, that I got treatments for, whatever. So, anyway, I think that pretty much sums it up for today. I'll let you go, and then we'll be back next Sunday, and fingers crossed we win the Best Dance Electronic in North America. Thank you so much. I apologize again that this wasn't like a real performance secret show, and next week won't be either, but we'll kind of go from there. Well, after that, it should be back to normal. And tomorrow is finally the day that my equipment from the US should finally be here. So my clicker, my hat, things like that are all supposed to arrive tomorrow. So thank you again. I'm excited to share with you what happens when it's time for the award ceremony, and then I guess I'll see you on next Sunday. Thanks.